Meeting Center. Please dial the meeting number. Press the star key before and after the number. To contact technical support, please. For web access, please go to genesys.com. That's GENESYS.com. You are entering the meeting.
Mute. So basically, the whole presentation will be available for playback and review at any given time at the HSG training website, the same site you went to register for this event. So with that, Ira, I'm going to go ahead and mute all the phones, and you have your code then to unmute yourself. And when you're done, I'll be here, and we'll unmute, and we'll go for any questions.
Muted.
Sounds good, Dale. Thanks a lot. All right, everyone. Well, appreciate everybody joining us this morning and taking the time out of their busy day. My name is Ira Siegel. I'm one of the regional technical managers here at Honeywell Access Systems. Today we're going to be going through Honeywell's Winpak SE PE software.
Welcome to the Recording Center. To access the recording after the call is finished, please dial 866-854-2507 or 334-420-1380 and enter your replay.
Pause for commercial interruption there. Today we're going to go ahead through Honeywell's Winpak SE, Winpak PE access control software, and how it integrates with Winpak and the digital DVRs that we've got. Throughout the demonstration, we intend to take some of the mystery out of how things integrate, as well as demonstrate just how easy it is to combine all the pieces and parts to make a live integrated system. As we move through the presentation, just a couple of quick housekeeping tips. As Dale mentioned, what we're going to go ahead and do is ask if you guys could mute your telephones. Once we're done with the presentation, we'll go ahead and we'll open it up for any questions that anybody might have as we progress. All right? So at this point, we'll go ahead and kind of get started. What we're going to do is take an overview, look at some of the pieces and parts that we can use specifically through the integration. The system is made up of quite a few different pieces and parts. Now, today we're only going to be going through the basic package, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, we can be using Winpak SE software, the Winpak PE software, and we'll be covering the Winpak PE software in a future presentation. We can also integrate with intrusion systems. We've got the Vista 128 FBP, the Vista 250 FBP intrusion panel, and we can also tie into these intrusion systems as well. And again, we'll be covering that in future presentations. Additionally, there's quite a bit of hardware out there that we can be talking with, including the NS2 Plus panels, the N1000 panels, the Pro 2200 panels, and the newer Net Access panels. And of course, what everybody's here for is going to be the video integration today. And we're going to be specifically going through using the Rapid Eye. There's several different Rapid Eyes, as well as a couple of different fusion units that are available for the integration. Give you a little bit of a brief overview on the Winpak SE product. The Winpak SE product provides integration between the access control and the DVR. It gives you the ability to basically create a scalable system, a couple of cards all the way up to a couple of thousand cards, a couple of readers, again up to a couple of thousand readers. In addition to all that, you can have a Quick Start Wizard. The Quick Start Wizard makes easy work of adding panels. We'll actually be demonstrating that a little bit later on towards the second half of the session. In addition to all that, you've got the ability to manually arm, manually disarm the system. If you're using an alarm system, you've got the ability to create customized reports, email those reports, email alarms out, bring up some CCTV, which we'll be demonstrating today, as well as use the floor plans to do everything right off of that. So the system has a great base to begin with. We've also got a couple of DVRs. Now, today we're specifically going to be talking about the Rapid Eye Multimedia LT, but in addition to the Rapid Eye family of products, we've also got the Fusion. And for today's presentation, again, we're going to specifically be using the Rapid Eye Multimedia LT. The unit that I'll be using only has a 4-channel looping output, and basic unit, this particular unit has only got storage capabilities for 400 camera days, but it does have a single audio channel, as well as the capabilities of having multiple inputs as well as control outputs to it. Now, one of the nice things about the integration that we're going to be demonstrating is we don't necessarily need all those inputs and all those outputs. And as we go through the presentation today, at this point, absolutely nothing is hardwired. The overview that we're going to be using today, we'll show you in just a few minutes. Now, the integration is really what everybody's here for, and as I mentioned, we can talk directly to the Rapid Eye DVRs as well as the Fusion DVRs. In addition to that, we've also got the 128 and the 250 Vista intrusion panels. Now, the primary reason that everybody's here is specifically for the integration. When we're dealing with the intrusion system, we can arm and disarm based on a card read. But beyond that, it's the DVRs that we're looking to do. When an event happens, I want a camera to come up. When something happens, I want to be able to look at one place and find where that event came from, where did that event actually happen. Now, you can tie relays off the back of any DVR and make a relay from a DVR tied directly to an access control system or an intrusion system. You can do it the other way around as well, and when a relay closes on an access control system, you can also make that relay trigger a DVR. However, with true integration, it's all done through the software. There's no need to run additional wires, which is really convenient if you have a digital site or a site that's located in one city or one area, and you've got a head end or a couple of people watching in different areas. No wires are required at that point. When using the Winpak with the Rapid Eye integration, there's only one place for operators to look for everything as well. What makes it very convenient is for a security officer or for somebody using the system, the end user. Technically, they only need one system that they have to learn. You don't have to learn how to use the DVR, how to set up the DVR, how to search through the DVR. Everything can be done right through the Winpak software. When the time comes to review or search for video clips, again, with the integration, there's one place to look for it. Now, that doesn't mean for a security officer, that means that they don't have to look at 5 different pieces of software or 5 different places in the desk where to find the control or how to mechanize or how to adjust the PTZ control or something for that aspect. Now, the pieces and parts that we're going to be using today as we proceed, specifically we're going to be using the Winpak SE software. We've also got an NS2 Plus panel, as well as a user interface and a Rapid Eye LT. All these devices are connected over a LAN. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you a little bit of an overview, a little bit of a presentation, just to kind of show you what can be done through the software. And then what we'll do is we'll step back and we'll actually wipe clean our database and start from scratch and show you guys how easy this is to build a basic system. Okay, the software that you're looking at, the screen that you should have in front of you, should be showing the Winpak SE software. It should be open to the control map on the left side of the screen and on the right side of the screen. You should see a floor-plan view. Moving forward from there, on the control map itself, the control map gives us the capabilities physically of watching an event or seeing an event happen. We've got the ability on the floor plan view to literally watch a door status or see if a door opens or see if a door closes. So all of the different screens give us the capabilities physically of watching the status. Now, the whole purpose behind integration is when something happens, we want to see what is actually happening within the software. So in this case, if somebody were to go up to a door and force a door open, maybe they just pried the door open or for whatever reason managed to get that door open, we've got a video camera that has the capabilities of popping up. Now, you've got the ability to look at a pre-alarm and a post-alarm. Now, on the right side of your screen, you should see a flashing red box. That flashing red box represents the door. And what it's actually showing me on the right side of your screen is that the door is actually open. If I physically close the door, walk back out to the site and actually close the door, but don't clear the alarm, you'll actually see that the door will go back down again. You'll see that the door is flashing green right now, telling me that the door did close. However, the door was in alarm at some point. So once somebody forces a door open, you've got a camera that pops up. When that camera pops up, we've got the ability to see the alarm. Now again, without using integration, yes, we can use relays to tie all this together. However, the advantage of using integration is the fact that if the security officer is not sitting in front of his desk and doesn't actually see the event when it occurred, one of the advantages that the security officer has is to go back and look at the Winpak software, and right on the screen, you'll see where it says Alarm View. Right in the middle of your screen, you'll see the word Alarm View. You'll see a box that's grayed out, it's highlighted, and just to the left of that gray area, you'll see a little camera icon. That little camera icon gives you the ability to actually see what had happened. If I right-click on that camera icon, I get a drop-down menu. Make this a little bit higher up for you. Right-click on the menu, and you'll see I have a couple of choices. Besides locking and unlocking the door right off the software, the other option I have is I can look at the live video clip, or I can retrieve the video clip from when the event actually happened. So we've got the capabilities of actually bringing in the video clip. So if the security officer isn't standing in front of it or he wants to show a supervisor, he doesn't have to go to another location. He doesn't have to go look for the DVR, find the DVR, and basically play with another piece of equipment that he might have to learn. He's got the ability to pull everything right off this individual screen. On the top of this particular screen, you'll see where we've got the time, we've got the date. I can also search for the time and date and look for a different video clip based on a different time and date off the same camera. Or I have the ability to look right now at the live video. And you'll notice one screen gets thrown to the left side, another screen would be thrown to the right. So I could actually look at both the live video as well as the recorded clip at the same time to do a comparison if I needed to. We'll go ahead and we'll close our door. We've also got the ability to generate an alarm. Let's say somebody walks up to that particular door. Maybe this particular door is a vault, and we're really worried about who's going to be in and out of that door. Well, if somebody were to swipe a card, and that card was not a valid card, maybe somebody's just trying to force their way in, but they don't want to actually force the door, but they want to test and see. Maybe their card will get them in the door. Well, we've also got the ability to swipe a card, and you'll see that we have what's called a card not found alarm. And that card not found alarm gives us the same thing. We've got this video pop-up. Now that video pop-up also gives us the capabilities to do the exact same thing we saw before. Right-click, and we can grab the video clip. Either look at a live clip, or we can retrieve the video. In addition, go ahead and we'll close out of our screen. We'll close out of our alarm screen. We can also set up something that we call an auto card lookup. So basically, every time somebody swipes their card at a specific door, we have the ability to actually see a live video clip. So if I had a valid card, maybe this was a health club, maybe this was a specific area, where we just wanted to verify who was coming through the door. Well, when I swipe my card, I have a valid card read. I might have the person's photo show up, and then at the same time, I can see the live video clip as that person's at the door. Based on your DVR, you'll have a pre-alarm and you'll have a post-alarm. Now, one of the things that we talked about integration was the fact that we had one place that we can get everything from. Again, on your screen, on the left side of your screen, is what we call our control map. The control map is where we control everything in the system. Each of these individual devices. When you use your desktop on your regular computer, you have icons. Well, these icons are part of the Winpak software, and these icons connect directly to the physical hardwired device out in the field. So if I were to right-click on one of my cameras, you'll notice that that front PTZ camera may be highlighted. If I were to right-click on it, click on Digital Video, I can pop open a camera. Through this screen, I can also right-click, and I can adjust to go to specific presets. Go to preset 1, for example. If I didn't want that preset, or I was looking for another location, pick another location to go to. Go to preset number 2. And it'll automatically zoom from one location to another. The other thing that I have the capabilities of doing, if this is a PTZ control camera, obviously presets, but the other option I have on the left side of your screen is I have a little drop-down box, and that little drop-down box provides me with a joystick. And that joystick gives me the ability to adjust my PTZ control left, right, up, down, or my auto iris or any of my other controls. So there's my PTZ control. I've got a zoom. So we've got a couple of things that we can adjust off of here. Again, for a security officer or an end user, it's one place. For the installer, you only have to teach your customer about one piece of equipment. I can also go directly to my DVR through the Winpak software. If I right-click on where it says Demo Site, go to Digital Video, here's all of my cameras. I can look at the live video, or I can look at a clip from a certain point in time. If I highlight all my cameras, click on the word Show. Imagine you're a security officer and you've got multiple locations. You can see all of your locations right off of one location. I could be sitting on a beach with a laptop in front of me as long as I have wireless connectivity. And that's actually how this whole presentation is being done, is via wireless. I have the capabilities physically of looking at my cameras at different locations. Now, for a security officer that may not want to use this map on the left side of your screen, I've also got the ability on my floor plan. Now, you'll see the flashing red box. That flashing red box is my door. Just to the left of that is a little camera icon, and it just highlighted on your screen, and it says delivery door camera. On a floor plan, I can also right-click, and I can grab the digital video from here as well. So it doesn't have to be in a drop-down list. I can manually control my cameras or manually search for my individual cameras. Again, that's all part of the integration. One of the advantages to the integration, again, is there's no wires. This is all done directly through the software, calling out to each of the individual devices, and the data being passed back and forth. Okay, so at this point what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to step back and we're going to take the entire system and we're going to restore it with a blank database. When we store it with a blank database, we're going to have, just like you would take the software right out of the box and drop it onto a computer, about a half hour after you install the software, you'll be building your system, and that's actually what we're going to go ahead and do. So what we're going to do at this point is close out of the Winpak software. And we're going to stop our services. Now, our services are small programs that run in the background. All of Winpak runs based on services. It's going to ask me, are you sure you want to stop your services? And in this case, I'll tell it yes. And if you watch, you'll see I've got a database server, I've got an archive, a communications, and a schedule. Each one of these are intricate components built into the software. The database runs the database. That's the small program that runs in the background. Our communications component is the small program that runs in the background that maintains my communications to my panels. Each one of these devices is stopped at this point. And once each one of these devices is stopped, I can go to my backup and restore utility, just to the right of that box. Double-click on it, and it'll open up my backup and restore utility. This is provided by the Winpak software. It's within the Winpak software, and it gives me the ability to back up and make a database. I can schedule to make a database, or I can restore a database. In this case, what we're going to go ahead and do is restore our database. So we click on Restore, and I've already made a blank backup, so we're going to look for a database that was already made on this machine. I'll scroll down to the bottom, and I've got my database right here. And I'm going to put it directly into the Winpak database. Now, when you do restore a database, one of the things to take into consideration is it does not append or add to the existing database. This warning message that pops up does warn you your database requires stopping of the services, which we've already done, and it can render your database unusable. What that means is if you're restoring a database over the top, it may not be the same thing as what you had there before. So in this case, we've just restored our database, and we have a blank database to start with. We'll click on the word Exit, and we'll restart our services. Now, when you make a backup, you do not have to stop your services. For the end user, all they have to do is click on the word Backup, or they can run this as a scheduler and run it in the background. So our services, which are our small programs that run in the background that maintain the software, are running, and we're going to jump into the Winpak software directly. The default is admin. There is no password. Passwords are case sensitive though. And we'll log in. I do apologize, I'm not sure why my mouse is not showing up on your screen. On initial installation, the first thing that happens is the Quick Start Wizard pops up. The Quick Start Wizard gives us the capabilities of literally building a basic system. Using the Quick Start Wizard, you can generally get about 15 minutes or so, and you should have your first panel set up and running. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our Quick Start Wizard to build a basic system. We've got an NS2 Plus panel connected over an Ethernet connection. So what we're going to do is walk through the process. We click on the word Next, and it says Add Time Zones. Now, let me just step back for a second and explain that it is not required to build any hardware into this in order to use the integration. We can take the DVR and just program DVRs right into here and have one place to talk to all of our DVRs. However, the idea is we want to show you guys the integration, and the integration requires having a panel here to start with. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a basic system. The first question it says is, what do you want to do? We want to add time zones. Now, time zones are basically used to lock a door, unlock a door, allow access, or prevent access. There are a couple of basic time zones. These time zones that we're going to be using, all of these that are right here on the main screen. So we'll tell it Next. The next question that we have to decide on is, do we want to add cards to the existing system? Now, before I add cards, how about we build the system? So we're going to add a new site. Now, technically, what the site refers to is basically the building that you're going to be putting this in. So we tell it Next, and we'll just call this Main Building. So that's going to be the name of the location. All of these panels will be located in the main building. Maybe you've got a location in South Dakota. Maybe you have a location someplace up in Montreal. Well, regardless of the location, I'll show you in a little while, we'll be able to make additional folders for each of these locations. Asks you, do you want to continue? The next question is, we need to add a loop. Now, coming out of the back of your computer, you'll have a serial port, or you'll be using a LAN connection, and that LAN connection is going to be connecting out to your hardware. That is considered the loop, so in this case, we'll tell it next. And we'll have to select what type of loop. Now, we've got a choice. We can use a direct RS-232 connection, we can use a TCP/IP connection, or we can use a dial-up connection. In this case, we're coming physically out of the back of our network card over the Internet, and from the Internet directly to our panel. So we're going to be using a TCP/IP connection. It's going to ask us what type of loop. Now, because I'm using the NS2 Plus panel, I am not using a 485 black box. In this case, what we're using instead of the 485 PCI is actually a direct connection. As you go through the Quick Start Wizard, you'll get to a certain point and you'll realize, if you're not familiar with our software, hey, you know what, these parts don't line up. So you can go back at any point. You'll notice on the bottom of that screen you have the ability to go back. So what we'll do, we're going to leave this as the name of the loop. However, down here we're going to put the IP address in here. 192.168.1.19. Now, you don't want to just make up an IP address. Hopefully you're asking your IT department what the name of the IP address is. We'll tell it next. By default, it comes up with an NS2 Plus panel, and we'll just call this NS2 Plus panel. And that's the name of my panel. We've got the ability to select an address. We can support 1 to 31 individual panels on a single IP address. In this case, this is going to be address number 1. And we'll tell it next. Next question it's going to ask us is, what's the name of our second door? So in this case, we'll call this front door reader. Now, the next choice that we have to make is the time zone. When you're dealing with access control, there's 2 different specific segments that you're dealing with. One is automation. My door automatically unlocks at 5 o'clock in the morning and automatically relocks at 5 o'clock at night. And then there's card access. I can get in 24 hours a day. My card allows me in the door only from 9 to 5, etc. When we're talking about a time zone in this case, this time zone is the time zone that is going to automatically unlock the door. So in this case, my front door will be unlocked from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday. On a valid card read, how long do I want the door to be unlocked for? That's what we call a pulse time. So when I swipe my card, my door will be unlocked for 10 seconds. Now I can bump that number up to 60 seconds or even higher based on the way our software is set up by default. If I bump it up to 3 minutes and somebody goes through the door, if the door closes 5 seconds later, the door automatically will relock. So in this case, we'll leave it at 10 seconds. We'll take care of our second door. This is a 2-reader panel. We'll call this backdoor reader. And for the backdoor reader, maybe the customer said, I want that door to always be locked. So in this case, we have 2 choices. We can put the word none in there. If there's no time schedule, the door will not open. If we put always on, the door will always be unlocked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Look at your time schedule up at the top, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. That means that your door would unlock at 8 o'clock and relock at 5 o'clock. So if we put never on here, that means that this door will never automatically unlock. Now, what's the difference between the word none and the word never on? Both of them will keep the door locked 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you'll have to use your card to get in the door. Remember, we're talking about automation. However, the word none is nothing. There's no time schedule there. Where never on is a time schedule, but it's 0 o'clock to 0 o'clock. Basically, there's nothing in that block of time. Later on in the software, when we start manually unlocking and locking doors, you'll see that you have an option to restore to time zones. If you're using the word none, none's nothing. It's not a time zone. So you cannot restore to time zone. Where if you're using the word never on is a time zone, even though there's nothing in it. So when I click on restore to time zone, if never on is there, it'll put the door back to a locked state. All right, we're going to go ahead and click on the word next. And at this point, we're done. We've just built our first system. We can tell it, I'm done. We'll add cards manually after. Now, there's two separate databases in the Winpak system. There's the database that's located on the PC side, and there's the database located at the panel side. In this case, we've just built the database that's located on the PC side. This is a basic summary of all the things that we added, all the pieces, all the parts. That's all finished. Do you want to exit the Quick Start Wizard? Sure. Now, the Quick Start Wizard builds a basic system for us. If I look under Operations, and I look at Control Map, or I click on my fifth icon, which is my Control Map, I have a basic system that's built for me. The Quick Start Wizard goes through and adds all of these pieces and parts into the software. Now, we have two separate databases. We have a database at the panel, and we have a database at the PC. We need to initially tell the panel, hey, this is the information that you're going to be using, and we call that initialize. So we're going to click on the panel, right-click on it, and do what's called initialize. And you'll see these are all the different databases. In this case, we're going to say send everything. And we'll tell it OK. Now, in the advanced class, we go through a little bit more detail about what each of those databases represents. When your customer is adding a card, deleting a card, modifying a card, there's no need to do any of this. The primary purpose behind this is when you change a time schedule, when you modify the specifications of a door. That's when you need to download the changes. That's when you need to push the changes to the panel. At this point, your software does function. If somebody were to have a card in the system and swipe a card, what will happen is the reader will read the card, pass the data to the panel, and the panel will say, hey, you know what, you're not in my database. But then it'll ask the software, hey, is this a valid card? If it is a valid card, it'll unlock the door and download the card. We call that host RAM. That's a built-in feature in the Winpak software. What that means is for older systems that are out there, customers that are using the older Winpak software, they don't have to wait for a panel to be initialized when they're downloading cards for cards to actually function in the system. Now, at this point, we've got a valid working system. If you take a look on your control map, you'll see that we've got a door. And that door to the left of it has a circle with an icon over it. And if I move my mouse over it, it actually says entrance OK. Moving forward from here, we would swipe a card, and you would be able to see that you have a valid card. Now, one of the things that happens right now is I don't have a card put into the system. So what we're going to do is go through the process of adding a card to the system. We'll test the system, and then we'll add the integration. So there's a little icon up on your desktop. It's a little green plus right above the word Add Card Holder. That little green plus is the very quick and down and dirty way to add a card into the system. So if we click on the plus, we can add first name, last name. Those are the only mandatory fields. After we add first name and last name, we're going to go to the Card Biometrics tab. And at the very bottom of the Card Biometrics tab, we have the ability to add a card number into the system. So we click on the word new, and we type in the card number. The card number that I'm looking at is 02340. We wouldn't type the lead 0 in, but we would type in the rest, the 2340. After we type the card number in, you do have to remember to hit enter. Once we've hit enter, at the bottom we have to select the access level. Down at the very bottom, the first choice that we have is the master access. By default, the Quick Start Wizard builds a master access level. Master access gives you the ability 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to get to a specific door. After we do that, we click on the word OK, and we've just added a card to the system. Now, there's other ways of adding cards, but that's the most efficient and quickest way of doing it. If we go up to the word Operations, and we bring the drop-down menu, and we look at Events, when I swipe my card, you'll see that I have a valid card. I didn't have to download the card. I didn't have to make any changes to it. It's automatically pushed down to the panel. If I go into this particular person's card and I make the card not found or lost or stolen, right away that card would stop functioning immediately. So we're going to leave that for now. So we've now got, within a matter of 15 minutes, a basic installation. We've taken a blank database, we've added a panel to it, we've made the communications, we've downloaded the data to the panel for the very first time, and then we started adding cards. There are additional ways of adding cards, but for right now, for this present presentation, we're just going to leave this at this point. Now, the part that everybody's here for is actually to see the integration. In order to do the integration, we have to set up our DVR. What we're going to go ahead and do is minimize my Winpak screen. And I'm going to jump in. I have two icons on the left side of my screen. I have the RapidEye Media View software, and I have the admin software. Now, I'm going to jump into the admin software, and we're going to take a look. During another presentation, we'll go through the details on how to set up the RapidEye unit and how to set up the software. But for the basics, all we need to do is have the name of the site and the IP address. All of that is set up through the multimedia admin software. In this case, we can see that the name of the site is Demo Site, all one word. When we close the screen, we then can jump in and open up the View software. In the View software, on the left side of your screen, you'll see the word Demo Site. So we click on that, and when we click on it, we have the ability now to look at a live video, or at the very top of the screen is the word Maintain. We're going to first click on the word Maintain, and what the maintenance does is it allows us to physically talk to the unit and set up the basic unit. Now, the most important thing regarding integration is that everything is in sync. There's nothing like bringing up a camera or bringing up an event that is supposed to be an alarm event, and there's nothing in the picture. If you notice on the main screen, right below my blue bar, it says the multimedia unit's time is 2 minutes 57 seconds behind. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sync my clock on my local PC on the main server with my DVR. Depending upon where your DVR is, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, you have a choice of what time zone it's in. Once I've done that, I can click on the word Live. The only purpose we're in this particular screen right now is to verify that my cameras and my DVR work. So we click on the word OK, and I should see my cameras. So I know I have live video. I know I can see all the information. Moving forward, when the time comes to troubleshoot, we know it's not the DVR. If we have any problems, we know that the DVR is functioning. So the next step would be the connectivity. The only purpose for being in the RapidEye software right now is just to verify that my cameras do function. Okay, what we're going to go ahead and do is close out of the RapidEye software and jump back into the Winpak software. We'll close a couple of these windows. You'll notice in my control map, I only have 2 folders. I have my main building, which has all my readers, and you'll notice that I have the services, which are the 2 programs that are running in the background. We need to add a few more pieces to this. What we're going to do now is add the RapidEye unit to the Winpak software. Your customers will be doing everything underneath the operations menu. For the most part, this is where they'll be using the locate features, the event, the alarms, and things like that. When we're programming the system, we want to go to configuration. Everything that we program in the software is done under the configuration menu. In this case, I want to configure a device, and the device is located on what we call the device map. So when I click on the device map, my window opens. Now, notice this is my device map. If I open up the other icon, that was my control map. And there's a difference in the way the icons look. The control map on the left side of the screen is where I control my devices. We're going to close that. The device map is actually where I add the devices into the system. If I click on any device and I right-click on it, I have another menu. In this case, I have the menu Add. So what I've done is went to Configuration, Device, Device Map. After I did that, I right-click on the word Devices and I click on the word Add. And you'll notice one of the choices that you have at the very bottom of the menu is Digital Video. So we click on Digital Video, and we have a choice. What information are we going to be putting in here? Well, by default, we're looking for the name of the site. And if you remember, we called it Demo Site. That was the name out of the RapidEye software. Now I have to select what type of DVR am I going to be using. Am I going to be using a Fusion or a RapidEye? In this case, we're going to be using the RapidEye unit. The next question is, what is the login and password of the DVR? By default, it's administrator. And there is no password. That's the default out of the box. On the right side of the screen is something called an ADV. Now, when we use the Quick Start Wizard, the Quick Start Wizard literally built everything for us. We're going to be doing this manually. And an ADV is what we call an abstract device. The ADV is a virtual representation of a physical device. Basically, it's an icon. When you click on Microsoft Word on your desktop, it opens up Microsoft Word. When you click on a door in the Winpak software, you're clicking on an icon for the door. The icon for the door is connected to the physical device out in the field, and that's what the ADV is. Now, when we open up this screen, we click on the word Add, and all of this stuff on that particular screen that you're looking at, don't worry about it. Just leave it alone and press the Enter key on your keyboard, or the OK on that screen. You don't have to change any of that. In future presentations, we'll go into details about what all those features are. We'll be touching on some of those again in just a couple of minutes as well. So this is the name of the site. This is our username, and then our password. And we tell it next. This screen gives us the capabilities now of deciding what cameras we're going to be using. Now, when I check a checkbox, that checkbox basically says, okay, these are the cameras that I want to use. So we'll take camera number 1, and we'll double-click on it. Now, we're going to call this the front parking lot. So we type the name in, and then we have to hit Enter. We'll go to camera number 2. We'll double-click on it, and we'll call it the delivery door. I do recommend being as descriptive as possible. If there were multiple sites, you might want to call this the Beck delivery door or main building delivery door, etc., so that you can recognize what each device is. And then we'll take camera number 6, and we'll double-click on it, and we'll call camera number 6 front PTZ camera. Now, camera number 6 is a little bit different. Camera number 6 actually has a PTZ control assigned to it. So down here where it says pan and tilt, we're going to hit the checkbox. Camera titles will be descriptions that you might want to push back and forth if you were using a switcher. Okay, so we've got the front lot camera, delivery door camera, and we got the PTZ camera. There's other cameras on this DVR, but these are the only 3 that I really want to tie in at this point, because these are the only 3 that are located somewhere near the readers that I'm going to be tying them to. At that point, we hit finish. We're done. We've just integrated our DVR with the Winpak software. So we close the window, and we go back to our operations, and we go back to our control map, right? We put it all in there, and now we want to control it. The thing is, you'll notice it's not in your list yet. And if you've done this before, you know where we're going with this. If you haven't done it before, you probably will come across this. We've created the device. We haven't given the users permissions or added the devices to this list. So what we need to do, close out of that window, and go to Configuration, and we need to define what they can control. So we're going to go to Configuration, Define Control Area. This screen should look pretty much the same. The only difference is you'll notice that there's no color to any of these. The reason is we can't control from here. We're just defining what they'll be able to control from the other screen. Down at the very bottom is a little box that says Show Available Devices. And when we click on the scroll bar, we can get right to RapidEye. And you'll see that there's a list of choices in here. Well, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to add a site or add a folder, and we'll call it CCTV. And then what we're going to do is we're going to highlight all of these, and we'll click on the word Add, and we'll throw them in the folder. Now, you can create as many folders as you'd like. You can nest folders within folders. Maybe I have, this is a site in Halifax. Maybe this is a site in Monticello, New York. And then what we can do is we can literally drag our cameras by holding down the left mouse button into all of these different locations. Okay? So you can create folders within folders as well. Now when we close these screens, and we go to Operations and Control Map, and we open up the folder that says CCTV, you'll see the 2 folders that we created. And here's our DVR, and here's our cameras. If I click on my front PTZ camera and right-click on it and go to Digital Video, I should get a camera popping up. Now, if you don't get a camera to come up, only one of a few different things could be happening. More than likely, the login and password that you typed in, administrator no password, it is case sensitive, wasn't typed in correctly, or the name of the site wasn't typed correctly as it's listed in the RapidEye software. Those are the only primary problems that you can have as you're typing this data in. All right. We can also take a look where it says Demo Site and go to Digital Video. There's all of our cameras. We can highlight them all and click on the word Live, and then click on the word Show on the right side of the screen. And there's our 3 cameras. And you'll notice on the left side is my PTZ control. I can click on the down arrow. There's my PTZ control. I can move my camera over to the left, move it back. I can also right-click, and I can say, set a preset. Make that preset number 1. And then I can move my camera someplace else. Right-click, set a preset. Make that preset number 2. Now when I want to go back to a preset, all I need to do is right-click and go to preset. Okay, so as far as troubleshooting goes, we verified that our software did work directly through the RapidEye. Verified our cameras work directly through the RapidEye. Now we're verifying that our cameras work directly through here. The next step is actually tying it all together. When a card is used or when a door is forced open, I want that video to pop up. How do we make that happen? And that's the next part that we're going to be covering. We're going to go ahead and close out of our windows. And we're going to go ahead and start to configure a little bit more in the system. From this point, we're going to go to Configuration. We're going to go to our device. And we're going to go to our device map. When we open up our device map and we click on all the pluses, we eventually find our panel. In this case, it was the NS2 Plus panel. We're going to right-click on the panel and click on Configure. And it'll open up a screen that explains all the details about the panel itself. Now, the Quick Start Wizard did build the basic system for us, including this particular panel. When we go to the Readers tab, this is the door. Here's my back door. Here's my front door. On the right side is that ADV. On the right side is that icon. If I click on the word Edit, this is all of the details specific to this particular group of doors. In this case, here's my anti-passback violation. What I'm really looking for is when a door is forced open. So here's that forced open. You'll see you have a long list of choices in here. On an anti-passback violation, I can make something happen. On a card not found, on a host grant, any of these different things, I can make something happen. In this case, when a door is forced open, I want this camera to pop up. Okay? When the door is forced open, I want this camera to pop up. If a card is not found at the reader, maybe I want something else to happen or pick a different camera. Depends upon which side of the door you're on. But we'll do the same thing. We'll make the same door pop up. We tell it OK. And we close out of the screen. And we're tied in. Now, in order to make this actually happen, if I swipe the door or swipe the card or force the door open, we're not going to get anything showing up on the screen. If I automatically force a door open, you'll notice on your screen you don't see anything happening. The reason you don't see anything happening is we need to go to File and System Defaults. And we need to go to the Alarm Handling tab. And we need to make the Auto Pop-Up feature enabled. Auto Pop-Up Alarm View window. So when I tell that OK, now when somebody forces a door open, I have the ability to generate a camera popping up, and I also have the ability to generate the alarm showing up. As long as your door is not tied in. Let's find a card here. There we go. Sorry, I was trying it on the door that had a time schedule on it. The door that's open from 8 to 5, the door is unlocked. So when you're opening and closing the door, you're not going to get anything showing up. And there's our pop-up. Here's my card not found. Right-click. Look at the live video. Right-click. And retrieve the video clip. Okay, now in this case there was nobody standing in front of the door. I generated it off of a panel sitting in front of me, not off of the door itself. But the idea is you can duplicate the information. Now one of the things to take into consideration when you're doing this if we go to Configuration, Device and Device Map, and we open up our panel, and we look at our readers, if we click on Edit, this is the front door reader, and we set the front door reader on a card not found, pop open this camera. On the front door reader, which it says at the very top, the middle says Door, and if we look on a door forced open, I want this camera to have. All right. There's a little bit more to this. We can actually make each door do something different, but the idea was to show you a little bit about behind how to set this up. We'll be doing a future presentation with a little bit more advanced topics that will go into further detail on the ADV. The only other thing I'd like to show you guys real quick is our floor plan definitions. So we go to Configuration and Floor Plan Definition. We click on the word Add, and we can call this Test. We click on the word Open in the middle of the screen, and it gives us the capabilities of importing a background if we had a background on a file. The other option that we can do is just literally drag these icons right onto our desktop. So this might be a door. Here's a camera. And here's a PTZ camera. Each camera does something a little bit different. Each icon does something a little bit different as well. When I move my mouse over each one of these icons, this is a pan tilt camera. I apologize, the mouse isn't showing up on here. This is the stationary camera. It's actually right above the box that you're seeing. Now, once I drag these onto the screen, I have to highlight them by clicking on them. I can right-click, Control Properties, show me what's out there by clicking on Find ADV, and when I do that, I say Find Now. In this case, I only have one PTZ camera, so I highlighted it, and I tell it OK. Now, I have the option to say Show Name and Show Tooltip. In this case, I'm not going to show the name, and if you watch the icons, the word pan tilt disappears. When I move my mouse over it, you have a pop-up that says Front PTZ Camera. That's the tooltip, that little pop-up that you got. Okay, here's my stationary camera. I can right-click, Control Properties, Find. Sorry about that. Find Now. And we'll just take the delivery door. Now, there's my delivery door camera, and we can tell it OK. You can see sometimes that text might not quite be readable because of the amount of characters, so instead you might want to just use the tooltip. Now my door, when I right-click on it and go to Control Properties, I can also use a garage door or any other type of icon. So we're going to click on Find Now, and in this case we'll just use the back door reader. Actually, we'll use the front one, it'll be easier. So we click on Find Now, and there's my front door, and we'll tell it OK. Now this is a roll-down door, and you'll actually see the door go up and then back down again. So we're going to tell it Save and Exit. And close that screen. Now, under Operations, all the way at the bottom, you'll see you got digital video here as well. Digital video just pops open that same screen where we can highlight a bunch of cameras. But under Operations, we also have something called Floor Plan. When I click on Floor Plan, I select the floor plan. And those are the icons that I just created a couple of minutes ago. And you can see this one has a circle with a line over it. So depending upon the status of the door, it's not going to change state. What it's actually saying is that the door, the circle with the door over it, basically is telling us, hey, this door is being ignored right now. But you can see how it's in the rolled up position. We told it from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock we want to ignore that particular door. On my camera, if I right-click on it, I can bring up the digital video. So I can see my cameras right off of here also. So it's just a matter of putting the icons on my screen. When it comes to my door, I can click on my door, right-click on it, and I can also lock my door. And you can see the status of it, and the door rolls down. I can also unlock the door. And, just like we were talking about, there's my Restore to Time Zone. All right. A couple of other features that you have when you're dealing with integration under Operations is something called Auto Card Lookup. And Auto Card Lookup gives us the ability when a card is swiped, you'll see the pre-recorded picture of the person, and then every time they swipe the card, you'll see the camera that's related to that auto card pop-up. So maybe it's a main entrance, maybe it's a vault door, maybe it's at a health club and they want to just record and do a comparison. Now, based on the alarm event, you'll have a pre- and a post-recording time set up by the DVR, and that's the information that you'll see when the recording is pushed back into the Winpak software. Okay, at this point, we're going to go ahead and move everything over and open this up to any questions that anybody has.
Unmuted.
Ira, thank you for your presentation. At this time, again, I have unmuted all of the callers who are on the line. So we'll kind of do one of these first come, first serve. If anybody has any questions, I will be live here for the next about half an hour for any additional questions, or if somebody wants to see anything else with regard to integration.
This is Jim with LMS. I have a question.
Sure, go ahead, Jim.
I noticed you have PTZ capability to set presets from the Winpak.
That's correct.
Can I then link that to a card event and move a camera to a preset?
Not at this time. The preset commands that you're asking about are tied in through the software. They are going to be integrated. At this particular point in time, they are not.
Okay, that seems to be, I get asked that a lot.
Right.
If I'm out there selling.
If you do need to tie in the integration, where when this event happens, I want the PTZ to zoom over to this location.
Yep.
That can be pre-programmed through the DVR. And for right now, until it's coded into the software, we can use an input or an output point to generate that.
Okay, so we could take a relay out of the access panel, take it to the DVR.
Right, and we can
that's how we accomplish that.
We can do this over a distance. So if the DVR is located in North Carolina and the panel is located, for whatever reason, someplace else, we can tie wherever that panel is located. We can tie a pair of wires into that panel. That panel can trigger another panel at another location. So you wouldn't have to run a separate pair of wires across a building, for example.
Oh, I see.
In that case, across, obviously, a state.
So it would be like a global setup, as long as everything ties back to my to one
Correct.
system. Okay.
I've had customers use input boards right now, specifically at a location in South Carolina. They've got a warehouse. The warehouse is about 3 football fields long, and they're basically tying an input board in at the head end in the server room, and at another panel, at each individual panel throughout the facility where the cameras are located, they're tying the cameras in there, and then the connections are actually being made through the software instead of actually running the wire back and forth.
Okay. Do you know, is there any white paper or just a FAQ on how to accomplish that with a relay and
I believe that
how to set it up?
If it's not on the website, Inside Technical Support can provide that information.
Okay. Cool. Very good, though. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Ira, this is Adam in Systems Engineering. I have a question related to the presets as well.
Sure.
Are the presets, when set in Winpak, stored in Winpak, or are they sent to the DVR?
The presets in this case are actually stored in Winpak. And let me pop up that window just to show everybody, just so everybody can see what we're talking about. If I right-click on my screen, I've got the ability to go to a set preset. Now, these presets are also the same presets that are pre-programmed physically in the RapidEye software. So if you're programming them here or you're programming them there, it's the same preset. However, there's no direct correlation between the Winpak software and these presets to say when this happens, do that at this time.
So when you set preset 1 in Winpak, the DVR will also have preset 1 equal the same position?
Correct.
Okay. And the maximum number is 8 as it shows on the screen there?
In this case it is, yeah. I've got this low, but...
Are there any tour capabilities that can be programmed from Winpak, or is it simply presets?
We're back to the same, unfortunately, the same situation where we can trigger a tour based on a hardwired relay at this point, but the tour is based on the DVR still.
Okay.
These are all future release requests. It's just a matter of the timing of getting them back out into the field. All right, thanks, Adam.
No problem. Thank you.
By the way,
Well,
your mouse is showing up just fine.
Oh, it is showing up.
Yeah.
I've got another computer sitting next to me, and the mouse is not showing up on that one. Thanks.
I'll go to see gas is at $3.95. Must be in Ohio.
Yeah.
Hey,
I
it's
think it's
389 just down the road from where I am.
Oh, we're at 409 in Wisconsin.
We're actually trying to catch the guy that's going up there and changing it. You know, maybe he has to do with everything.
We're at 415 up here.
Ooh.
Can you set an event on that so that when it's changed, it triggers an alarm?
It's actually done through the DVR. Yes.
That's how the radio stations do that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. We're relying on the radio stations for that. Sure.
It's a feature.
Who else you got out there? What other questions you guys have?
What's the future plans for Winpak and ProWatch? Are you guys working toward an integrated package of both of them, or are they going to stay down two separate parallel paths?
It is going to be two separate parallel paths. ProWatch is an incredible enterprise-type system, and Winpak basically handles lower-end enterprise, smaller enterprise systems with a single database. So they are going to remain separate entities at this point that I'm aware of.
We could flush out if we have any of our marketing personnel. Mr. Smith, if you're on, if you wanted to respond to that. Otherwise, I think Ira, did identify. We're going to keep it as two families right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Ira?
Yeah.
I discovered about a month ago that there's a limitation within ProWatch of how many DVR sites it can handle.
Okay.
And it seemed to be like a database thing, but as far as you know,
well,
do we have any limitations like that?
I've got a site that's got 11 DVRs out there. 4 of them are Fusion. I think it's 32-channel Fusions. Bandwidth is the biggest thing. As far as the size of the database goes, if they're on MSDE, it is a 2 gig limit. If they're using full SQL, it's as big as the hard drive. And when you're dealing with full SQL in a large system like that, then the key thing is the speed of your drives as well.
Yeah, this has, we're talking upwards of almost 60 sites, and they maxed out at about 30-some, and they don't have a good answer for my customers why or what they're going to do about it.
I apologize. I don't have a better answer on that as far as on the ProWatch side. On the core side, I've got, I don't know offhand what the largest site is that I've got, but I've got a couple of sites that have, quite a few locations, over 20 locations tying in. I can't think off the top of my head just how many, but I know for a fact one's got over 20 that I've got, and I'm sure some of my counterparts have even larger sites.
So if they went to the high-end database, shouldn't be any limitation, should there?
It's my understanding on the ProWatch side, and I'm not 100% familiar with ProWatch, it's based on the size of the database, the speed of the drives, and the pipe going back and forth.
Gotcha.
My understanding is the issue becomes just literally that pipe becomes a stopping point or a blockage, and the database takes over.
Okay.
Any other Winpak questions? I apologize. Sorry, I didn't catch that.
No, es nada gratis. Dime. Pero la primera parte sí me tuve que pagar.
Ira?
Yes.
It's Blair with Acme Protective. I just heard you talking to Mr. Smith. Is this John you're talking about?
Actually, this is Dale Lloyd. I had asked if John was on the call if he had a comment about Winpak and ProWatch, the two families integrating. Ira had responded appropriately. I was just checking. As a moderator, I was viewing some of the people who are not on the system, so I was just trying to call them out, join the conversation.
Was she there?
Yeah, I
was talking about integrating Winpak with Sims, and he had actually met with Ken Utley from Sims when we were at the ISC show. And I haven't heard anything back from either group, so I was just curious if he was making any headway with that.
My recommendation at this point would be to get out an email to him. The forum that we're on right now is specific to the Winpak and the video integration. You're more than welcome to CC me on it, though.
Okay. What about dial-up and LT, using an LT? We're just new to this, so forgive anything that sounds a little silly, but we're using LT because we have an entire chain that, believe it or not, does not have high-speed internet.
Okay.
Are we able to use Winpak as a dial-up alarm station for this?
You can. The LT, the Rapid Eye Multimedia LT was geared specifically towards, the whole Rapid Eye line was geared towards dial-up. So as far as efficiency goes with that, you've got it. The main concern is as far as the speed goes over your phone lines with the Winpak.Integration. Can it work? It definitely can. I have a customer using leashed line modem that is actually doing this. But as far as the physical dial-up goes, the intention originally was you dial up the site, you download the data, you retrieve the data, and you hang up. So it really wasn't geared for live monitoring, so there's really not a lot of bandwidth.
No, we don't want to do live monitoring on it. Just from a managed video point of view, we'd like to be able to, if we're having any kind of hard drive failures or anything, send us alarms on the status of the DVR as opposed to actually monitoring it for, motion situations. We're just looking at actual technical situations.
Right. You can actually schedule the Winpak software to dial out, but the DVR itself, I don't know if the DVR has the capabilities built into it based on trouble. But Winpak can be set up so that every 2 hours, every 4 hours, dial out the site, retrieve the information. And then based on an alarm closure or on something happening on the DVR, you can retrieve that information as well through that module.
You have the CS program, not the SE. Much difference?
Winpak Central Station is actually a similar product. It looks very much the same. However, again, the scenario is a little bit different. In that case, with the Winpak Pro Central Station, you've got one large database in front of you, and it's basically separate customers that will be using that. And in that scenario, they have the ability to tie in via web, via dial-up modem, however you want to set that up. So it is a little bit different. Any other Winpak questions regarding video integration?
This is Adam again. I've been thinking about those presets again. What if you were to set preset 1 at a particular position through Winpak, but an operator configuring the DVR set preset 1 in the DVR at a different preset position?
Sure.
Which one of those takes precedence? The most recent configuration?
Yeah, whoever the last one was that made the change.
Okay.
Now, based on that, you can change your rights in Winpak software so that they can modify it, and the same thing on the DVR. So an operator can lock down the DVR as well as Winpak very well.
Okay.
Good question, thanks.
Eric, F. Williams Electronics.
Yeah.
A couple questions on the floor plans. JPEG, bitmap, CAD drawings, those are just standard stuff. That's just what we import in to use for our floor drawings, correct?
No, in this case, Windows Metafile .wmf is required. Basically, the reason behind having a .wmf is it gives us the capabilities of resizing.
Okay.
Let me grab a floor plan and I'll show you real quick. I don't know if I have any loaded on here.
Mentioned, so I was just curious, like if the CAD 14 or CAD or
right.
CAD.
Basically, AutoCAD, or I use Visio, and Visio will convert a DWG. One of my sales guys out of Canada ended up finding a free application that will convert a JPEG over to Windows Metafile.
Like free.
I'm sorry?
So we like free, don't we?
It was free. Yep. It had a 90-day license, free trial license, or something like that. So just Google, search Google for JPEG to WMF. The key thing you want to be careful of is you don't want to put a 60 by 70 floor plan graphic.
You don't want like a copy of the plumber's layout or something like that. Right. Yeah. You want to try and just keep the walls.
Yeah, you want to strip out the layers. You want to make it pretty much about 8.5 by 11 at most, and strip out the layers. Maybe change the value of it. We do provide some samples in the Winpak directory under Program Files. There's a folder called Database, and in that database there are 2 sample window meta files in there.
Okay.
And those should give you a pretty good idea.
Second for you is, like, I know on some of our DVRs we can set up motion detection on the camera itself for it won't record the hard drive.
Right.
Unless it sees motion. Is that possible to use that with this so that, let's say, at a certain time zone, there's an area that they want somebody in, and if it sees motion, it will fire an alarm or bring the picture up the screen?
At this point right now, the only way to do that would be you'd have to fire an output relay on the DVR.
An infrared, a PIR, or something like that?
Right, or a PIR.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, all that stuff is planned. It's actually a list of things to do. It's actually gone beyond the things to do list. It's a matter of timing when it's going to be released.
Right. Okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you.
Sounds good. Everybody can see up in the front. I've got a floor plan on the screen right now. I'm just going to call it map and save it. And when I go ahead and I open up my floor plan, you'll notice that this is my map that I've got, and I can actually right-click on the map and click on Zoom, and maybe I want to go 200%. And you'll notice that everything stays within proportion. So based on that, that's one of the reasons why it has to be a Windows MEP file and not a JPEG. If it was a JPEG, it would stretch and skew. I'm not sure. Somebody have a cell phone on that they might be able to get all the static from somebody. All right. What other questions we got? Anybody else? Anybody have a question about ease of use? One of the things that we just did was kind of show you guys in about 15 minutes building some hardware. It's pretty straightforward. And then once we had the hardware test, literally just tying into the DVR. All right. Well, if we've got no other questions out there, basically what we'll be doing in a few days' time, you guys will receive an email with a link, and you guys can actually take a look at this pre-recorded video, as well as far as invites go. The link will be based on an email that was originally sent out to you guys initially, as well as when you guys registered.
And for those of you, it'll be posted on our website. Probably, I want to say within a week's time. This will be, as we speak, it's being processed by the host organization, and we'll just send it to our web page.
Meeting Center. Please dial the meeting number. Press the star key before and after the number. To contact technical support, please. For web access, please go to genesys.com. That's GENESYS.com. You are entering the meeting.
Mute. So basically, the whole presentation will be available for playback and review at any given time at the HSG training website, the same site you went to register for this event. So with that, Ira, I'm going to go ahead and mute all the phones, and you have your code then to unmute yourself. And when you're done, I'll be here, and we'll unmute, and we'll go for any questions.
Muted.
Sounds good, Dale. Thanks a lot. All right, everyone. Well, appreciate everybody joining us this morning and taking the time out of their busy day. My name is Ira Siegel. I'm one of the regional technical managers here at Honeywell Access Systems. Today we're going to be going through Honeywell's Winpak SE PE software.
Welcome to the Recording Center. To access the recording after the call is finished, please dial 8.
And feature presentation. Additionally, there's quite a bit of hardware out there that we can be talking with, including the NS2 Plus panels, the N1000 panels, the Pro 2200 panels, and the newer Net Access panels. And, of course, what everybody's here for is going to be the video integration today. And we're going to be specifically going through using the Rapid Eye. There's several different Rapid Eyes, as well as a couple of different Fusion units that are available for the integration. Give you a little bit of a brief overview on the Winpak SE product. The Winpak SE product provides integration between the access control and the DVR. Gives you the ability to basically create a scalable system, a couple of cards all the way up to a couple of thousand cards, a couple of readers, again up to a couple of thousand readers. In addition to all that, you can have a Quick Start Wizard. The Quick Start Wizard makes easy work of adding panels. We'll actually be demonstrating that a little bit later on towards the second half of the session. In addition to all that, you've got the ability to manually arm, manually disarm the system. If you're using an alarm system, you've got the ability to create customized reports, email those reports, email alarms out, bring up some CCTV, which we'll be demonstrating today, as well as use the floor plans to do everything right off of that. So the system has a great base to begin with. We've also got a couple of DVRs. Now, today we're specifically going to be talking about the Rapid Eye Multimedia LT, but in addition...
854-2507 or 334-420-1380 and enter your replay.
Pause for commercial interruption there. Today we're going to go ahead through Honeywell's Winpak SE, Winpak.PE access control software, and how it integrates with Winpak and the digital DVRs that we've got. Throughout the demonstration, we intend to take some of the mystery out of how things integrate, as well as demonstrate just how easy it is to combine all the pieces and parts to make a live integrated system. As we move through the presentation, just a couple of quick housekeeping tips. As Dale mentioned, what we're going to go ahead and do is ask if you guys could mute your telephones. Once we're done with the presentation, we'll go ahead and we'll open it up for any questions that anybody might have as we progress. All right? So at this point, we'll go ahead and kind of get started. What we're going to do is take an overview, look at some of the pieces and parts that we can use specifically through the integration. The system is made up of quite a few different pieces and parts. Now, today we're only going to be going through the basic package, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, we can be using Winpak SE software, the Winpak.PE software, and we'll be covering the Winpak.PE software in a future presentation. We can also integrate with intrusion systems. We've got the Vista 128 FBP, the Vista 250 FBP intrusion panel, and we can also tie into these intrusion systems as well. And again, we'll be covering the Rapid Eye family of products. We've also got the Fusion. And for today's presentation, again, we're going to specifically be using the Rapid Eye Multimedia LT. The unit that I'll be using only has a 4-channel looping output, and basic unit, this particular unit has only got storage capabilities for 400 camera days, but it does have a single audio channel, as well as the capabilities of having multiple inputs as well as control outputs to it. Now, one of the nice things about the integration that we're going to be demonstrating is we don't necessarily need all those inputs and all those outputs. And as we go through the presentation today, at this point, absolutely nothing is hardwired. The overview that we're going to be using today we'll show you in just a few minutes. Now, the integration is really what everybody's here for, and as I mentioned, we can talk directly to the Rapid Eye DVRs as well as the Fusion DVRs. In addition to that, we've also got the 128 and the 250 Vista intrusion panels. Now, the primary reason that everybody's here is specifically for the integration. When we're dealing with the intrusion system, we can arm and disarm based on a card read. But beyond that, it's the DVRs that we're looking to do. When an event happens, I want a camera to come up. When something happens, I want to be able to look at one place and find where that event came from, where did that event actually happen. Now, you can tie relays off the back of any DVR and make a relay from a DVR tied directly to an access control system or an intrusion system. You can do it the other way around as well, and when a relay closes on an access control system, you can also make that relay trigger a DVR. However, with true integration, it's all done through the software. There's no need to run additional wires, which is really convenient if you have a digital site or a site that's located in one city or one area, and you've got a head end or a couple of people watching in different areas. No wires are required at that point. When using the Winpak with the Rapid Eye integration, there's only one place for operators to look for everything as well. What makes it very convenient is for a security officer or for somebody using the system, the end user. Technically, they only need one system that they have to learn. You don't have to learn how to use the DVR, how to set up the DVR, how to search through the DVR. Everything can be done right through the Winpak software. When the time comes to review or search for video clips, again, with the integration, there's one place to look for it. Now, that doesn't mean for a security officer, that means that they don't have to look at 5 different pieces of software or 5 different places in the desk where to find the control or how to mechanize or how to adjust the PTZ control or something for that aspect. Now, the pieces and parts that we're going to be using today as we proceed, specifically we're going to be using the Winpak SE software. We've also got an NS2 Plus panel, as well as a user interface and a Rapid Eye LT. All these devices are connected over a LAN. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you a little bit of an overview, a little bit of a